Welcome to downtown Dakar. This is the Tallinn market. It is the most amazing place I've ever seen in my life. Fresh fish, smoked fish, avocado, mango, parsley, garlic, scotch bonnet peppers, almost anything you want, rice, grains, etc., etc. We're going to do a little bit of shopping here, and then we're going to bring all those ingredients to see a friend of mine, Pierre Thiam. He was born in Dakar. He moved to New York years ago. He's a well-known chef and cookbook author. He flew back to Dakar a few days ago to meet us to cook some great Senegalese food. So we'll talk about the methods of Senegalese cooking. We're going to talk about the flavors and learn a lot about how to make great food really fast. So please join us, stay with us with Pierre Thiam and the great foods of Dakar in Senegal.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
Ferguson's proud to support Milk Street and culinary crusaders everywhere. For more information on our extensive collection of kitchen products, we're on the web at fergusonshowrooms.com.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular's goal has been to provide wireless service that helps people communicate and connect. We offer a variety of no-contract plans, and our U.S.-based customer service team can help find one that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Cooking happens in the kitchen, but life happens around the kitchen table. The 1919 collection, celebrating yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Visit us at www.1919cookware.com.
Well, Pierre, thanks for having me here. But where is here? We're in Dakar in Senegal. Mm-hmm. This is the house of a childhood friend of yours, right?
Yes, my best friend, Pap Ndiaye, and this is his house, right by the water, just about 10 minutes from where I grew up, actually. It's down south by the university.
So the recipes today, we're starting with black-eyed peas and sweet potatoes, which are cooked fairly quickly, right?
Yes, actually it is very quick dish again. Very simple, black-eyed peas, sweet potatoes, tomatoes. French influence. You often don't hear the nyaren. Tomato paste and onions come first. The sweet potatoes cooked with the black-eyed peas in that broth, and it becomes this very simple but really healthy comfort food, really. You want to hear the sizzle? That means it's perfectly hot, but you don't want to burn the onions. You just want the onions to be
soft.
Soft, exactly. The black-eyed peas separately, you cook the sweet potatoes, you blanch them in salted water, so you have like a dish that's not too mushy, that's sweet, that presents well, that doesn't fall apart. Okay, remember we had tomato paste, tomato and onions right here with a little bit of oil. Now I'll add the seasoning. It's very simple. Black pepper, salt, and of course, the perfume, you know. Mm-hmm. But this one, if you don't want it to be too spicy, you put it towards the end of the cooking process. If you want it to be spicy, I would have put it early when I put the tomatoes and stuff. Then it really cooks and it releases the juices. And I'll just simply crack the garlic and add it to it as well.
And you did it with your hand, of course.
With my hand, of course. Yeah, exactly. Everything. The hand, to me, is the best tool you have in the kitchen.
I agree.
Bon appétit.
My Ndambe. Oh. You know, everything you've made, it's simple, but it's not. The flavors are not simple. The sweet potatoes still have some bite to them. Great texture, a little heat, not too much.
But you have the sweetness of the sweet potato that kind of like takes the heat away, right?
This is going to be one of my standard suppers now.
Fantastic.
I'm not putting this down.
Great, go for it. I'm so happy, man. Great, man.
This is absolutely delicious. You know, in our trip to Senegal, we found lots of ingredients that, of course, made it over here, but they started over there, like black-eyed peas, of course. Gumbos, they make gumbos as more of a seafood gumbo, but they use okra, of course. Carolina rice, of course, one of the great economic staples of this country in the early days, obviously came from West Africa as well. So this is a recipe for black-eyed peas with sweet potatoes. It's a stew, which is a typical stew over many parts of Africa. And so how do we get started?
We're going to start here by cooking some aromatics. And so I'm going to heat some oil, but we're actually going to use coconut oil here. This is 2 tablespoons of unrefined coconut oil. I'm just going to get this started over medium heat. Now, when you're looking for coconut oil in the market, you might find refined or unrefined. We're using unrefined here because it has more coconut flavor. It's going to add some richness and sweetness to this dish. So if you can find it, it's really going to enhance the flavor of the dish. Refined coconut oil is better if you don't want that coconut flavor at all, or you're cooking over really high heat. It has a higher smoke point. Okay. So I'm going to let this melt and start to shimmer. So we're going to add 1 large yellow onion to that, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to let those cook for about 7 to 10 minutes. We want them to be soft and well browned. And so while that's going, I'm going to prep one of our next ingredients. This is a Fresno chili. It's kind of similar to a jalapeno. When you buy these, you want to get really nice red ones like we have here. That's where it's at its most mature, and that's kind of where the flavor separates a little bit from a jalapeno. It gets a little fruitier, a little smokier, a tiny little bit spicier than a jalapeno.
But if you couldn't find this, you could use jalapeno?
You could use a jalapeno, yeah. They're really very similar. It's when they're mature that they get different. So I'm just going to slice it into rings.
So no seeding?
No seeding, no removing of ribs. I mean, obviously that's your choice. You can choose to do it the way you want to do it. We're going to do it with all the heat in it.
Did you ever used to work at Burger King? Have it my way?
Have it your way, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that every day?
That's my fantasy. Still working on it.
So I'm just going to stir these onions, and we'll let them go for a few more minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, these onions look ready. Nicely browned. So I'm going to add those 2 Fresno chilies. And this is 8 cloves of garlic that I've minced. Just going to cook that till it's fragrant. You're definitely going to smell that pepper. Party, I told you.
I almost stopped breathing, actually, yes.
So now we're going to add our black-eyed peas. This is 3 14.5-ounce cans of black-eyed peas. And I know you're probably looking at me like, cans? We found that they were really fine. And it makes for a really easy kind of weeknight version of this recipe, which is kind of what it is in Senegal. So we found this to be a little bit easier. You do want to make sure that you drain the peas and rinse them. All of the off flavors are going to be in that packing liquid in the can, so just want to make sure you drain them out. And then 2 bay leaves, and we have 5 cups of water. So we're using water here instead of broth.
Because most people in the world use water. It's free. And also, stock is a very French concept, right? In a dish like this, you have the peppers, the chilies, the garlic, lots of other flavors. That water is going to be flavored by all the ingredients. You really don't need to use stock. I mean, that's a very European concept.
We're kind of making a broth.
You're making your own broth.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to turn this up to medium-high and let that come to a simmer. Then we'll reduce it to medium. Let it cook for about 15 minutes. You just want to build that flavor. So we've really developed a lot of flavor in our pot, and now we're gonna add the sweet potatoes. So this is 1 pound of sweet potatoes that we're gonna cut into 1/2-inch cubes. They're gonna cook really fast that way. When you're cutting a potato or anything round, it's good to kind of slice off a little sliver of the bottom to give yourself a stable surface to work on. And I'm always in favor of cutting things down smaller before you have to do the fine knife work. So I usually cut this in half and then cut planks. I just find it a little bit easier to work with. Some people want you to stack it and cut it. It's really slippery that way. I don't advise that for somebody who's kind of new with a knife. So then we just cut it into little batons. Those would be like French fries, and then cubes.
So when you're using a knife on a sweet potato like this, you're not feeling lucky, are you? You're definitely in safety mode.
I am, because it's a hard vegetable to glide a knife through. It's round. There's a lot of obstacles. So I really think like trying to get it as small as possible before you have to get to this stage of cutting the potato is a good idea.
Fair point.
Okay, so we're gonna add these to the pot. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. So I'm just gonna stir this around, make sure everything's submerged. So Chris, the texture of the stew is not gonna change that much, and you can see it's not really thick. It's more of a lighter kind of brothy stew, which we really like. So we're gonna just let these potatoes cook. I'm gonna cover and reduce the heat to medium-low and cook that until those potatoes are tender. That's 10 to 15 minutes. And you'll know if you pierce them with a paring knife, the potatoes should basically just fall right off. That's how you know the potatoes are tender.
So no, none of these al dente potatoes.
Preferably
Fully
not.
cooked, okay.
So Chris, those potatoes are nice and tender. I'm just gonna turn the heat off, and I'm actually gonna move it off the heat, because the rest of the ingredients we're gonna add, we wanna do off heat. So I have a pound of plum tomatoes that are just coarsely chopped. And we're adding these ingredients off the heat because we wanna keep their brightness. And this is a cup of chopped parsley and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So especially with citrus juice, if you're adding it to a recipe at the end, you want to do that off the heat. Even 30 seconds of cooking with citrus can kind of mellow the flavors, and we really want the acidic punch of that in this dish. All right.
Well, it looks pretty.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful stew. And it's really nice and light. I hesitate almost to call it stew. I think stew and I think something that's really
Bunches thick.
yes.
Salty.
Right. Meaty.
Meaty, yes, that's true.
But this is really nice and light.
That is really pretty too.
A little lemon wedge, a little extra lemon.
Okay, A for looks. Now we'll see if there's substance.
You can really taste each individual flavor in here, and I think that's why using the water instead of a broth or something that's going to kind of overpower that is really good.
I'm going to start a society of anti-broth cooks now. This is my new thing. Well, once in a while it makes sense, but if you're cooking something long enough where the ingredients have flavor, it makes its own broth. And
that's right.
I also say there was a lot of garlic that went in, but it's a nice foundation flavor. It's not garlicky.
No.
But I also like the fact the sweet potato and the peas. I mean, peas and root vegetables are common throughout a lot of places, including Africa. But I like that combination a lot. But it's also light.
Yeah.
It's not muddy.
I know.
So I cooked this in Senegal with Pierre Thiam. He calls it Ndambe, Ndambe. It's a very simple black-eyed pea and root vegetable. It's a sweet potato stew, a common combination across Africa, lots of places in the world. But this version of it is really light and bright. It's brothy, as you said. We use water, some chilies, garlic, but it has a nice combination with the starch and the lightness. So Ndambe comes to Milk Street, and we love it. Dessert.
Dessert, yes. So dessert is inspired from a traditional Senegalese dish called sombi. Sombi is a rice pudding, or riz au lait, as we say in French. But instead of using a dairy milk, I'm using coconut milk. And I'm using shredded coconuts. It's all gonna cook in the rice. And I'll top it with a roasted mango. The mangoes have been roasted in honey. This is Ndambe with roasted mango and coconut milk and vanilla.
It's not going to be hard to get me to eat this. It's my favorite things in the world.
And it's not spicy.
Oh, it's so good. The honey and the mango with the coconut and the rice. This is like 10-minute rice pudding. And it's the best rice pudding I've ever had. I mean, this is so good.
Thank you. And it's great cold too. You don't have to eat it right off the table.
So is this any kind of long grain white rice, or is this?
This is, yes, a long grain white rice, yeah.
This is your recipe?
Yeah, this is my recipe. Yeah, I was trying to think of getting Senegalese inspirations, but having it vegan. Like I grew up around coconut trees in Casamance, and rice fields in Casamance too, and mango trees. All of it are like typical from where my parents are from. C'est bon?
C'est magnifique.
Merci.
I'm going to go sit down and finish this entire bowl now, right now.
Yes, dude. I'm so happy, man. I'm like, woo, mission accomplished. I cooked for Chris, and he liked it all.
You know, for many years I thought I had the perfect recipe for rice pudding. I've been making it for 40 years or so. But now I've discovered it wasn't perfect, because if you do a coconut rice pudding with some caramelized mango on top, it's actually a lot better. So this is Pierre Thiam's recipe, obviously from Senegal. And how do we get started?
Well, Chris, first I have to say that this is a bit of a confession. I do not share your passion for rice pudding. Until I tried this recipe, I really didn't like it, but this is delicious. So whether you are a fan or you're a little hesitant about rice pudding, you have to try this recipe.
Who's hesitant about rice pudding?
Me?
What?
I don't
Really?
know why. I was judgmental, and I shouldn't have been. It's delicious.
You should not be.
As you said, this is Pierre's recipe. It's a little bit of an adaptation of his recipe. Traditionally, the Ndambe is eaten for breakfast or as a snack, and we wanted to make it a dessert. So we made it a little bit thicker, but really stuck with the same sort of flavor profile, and again, simple, delicious. So to start, we have a half a cup of shredded coconut.
No, that's unsweetened, right?
It is. I was just going to say, this is not the stuff that you put in your coconut cake. You want to make sure it's unsweetened. So Chris, we're toasting this over medium high, but you do want to watch it, because as soon as you start to smell it and it turns nice and golden brown, that's when we're going to add our other ingredients. It smells so good. All right, Chris, so you can see it's getting golden brown, really nice and fragrant. Now we're going to add 14 ounces of coconut milk. I have 2 tablespoons of white sugar. I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla and a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir this together and bring it up to a simmer. It's already almost there. Once it comes up to a simmer, we're going to reduce the heat down to medium-low and just let it bubble away for about 5 minutes to thicken.
You know, a lot of recipes call for leftover rice, like stir-fried rice or even some rice pudding recipes. And the question is, how do you make rice and then have leftover rice, for example, the next day or even that day? Well, first of all, the recipe for rice, if you look on the back of the box, often says 1 cup of rice for 2 cups of water. That's much too much water. So for our recipe, we use 3/4 cup of rice to 1 cup of water. Get that started, obviously, in a saucepan. Once it starts to simmer, bring it down to medium-low. Actually, I use pretty much a low heat at that time. Cover it and let it cook for about 15 minutes till it's done. There's no more water at the bottom. Take it off the heat, let it sit 10 minutes, and you're good to go. Now, the next question is, how do you cool down that rice effectively and also quickly? And if you leave it in the pan, it's going to take a long time to cool down. So we just take it off and put it on a half baking sheet that has a sheet of parchment paper that we sprayed with nonstick spray. Just put that on the sheet, and then we'll take it and spread it out a little bit. And you let that sit at room temperature until it cools down. It'll cool down pretty quickly. Now, if you want to store it for a while, there are 2 ways to do that. You can put this, after you wrap it with plastic wrap, in the fridge. You're going to use it within 24 hours or so. Or you can actually put it in the freezer. And once the rice freezes, you can take it off the tray and put it into a freezer bag that locks on top. And then anytime you want, you can go into your freezer, grab some rice, and you can make a stir-fried rice or rice pudding right away.
Okay, Chris, so you can see this is thickened up nicely in just a few minutes. I'm going to reserve some of this. We're going to take 1/4 cup
And this is gonna serve as a delicious drizzle to finish our pudding. Now I'm gonna add the 2 cups of white rice that we cooked and cooled. This is just long grain white rice.
So most rice pudding, you cook the rice at the same time as the water or milk, right?
Right. And we are gonna continue to cook this. So even though this has been cooked and cooled, this is gonna bubble away for another 15 to 20 minutes. We want it to get nice and creamy. We're gonna add a cup of water. And I have to be honest, when I saw that we add the coconut milk and the cup of water, I was worried that the rice was just gonna kind of completely fall apart, but it just soaks up all that delicious coconut. We're cooking this over medium, occasionally stirring 15 to 20 minutes, and while that bubbles away, we are gonna caramelize our honey and add the mango, and that's gonna make an awesome topping. We're gonna start by heating up the skillet over medium-high heat, and I have 2 tablespoons of honey here. And now we're gonna not touch it, just like if you were making a sugar caramel. We're gonna wait to sort of get a nice toasty smell coming out of it. It'll take about 2 minutes, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. So Chris, you can see that's bubbling pretty vigorously. It's starting to smell really nice. This is exactly what we want. You wanna catch it just before it starts to burn. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add a mango. We have a large mango here that we peeled and pitted. You're looking for about 14 to 16 ounces. I'm gonna add 3/4 of a cup of water and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. All right, Chris, so it's up to a simmer. Let's cover this, and I'm gonna reduce it down to medium-low. Now this takes 25 to 30 minutes, and it's a funny balance because on the one hand, you wanna check it every so often. If it's at, say, 15 minutes and most of the water is absorbed, you wanna turn it all the way down to low because we don't wanna scorch it. That being said, if you're checking it every 2 minutes, the mango's not gonna soften and we're not gonna get it cooked the way that we want. So we're gonna let our rice finish cooking, and then we're gonna let it cool for about 15 minutes. This is a dessert that you wanna eat warm, but not piping hot. All right, Chris, it's almost time to eat rice pudding. You can see the rice has absorbed most of the liquid, and it's nice and creamy, but pretty thick. And then we have our mango. Once I took it off heat, I added just a tablespoon of lime juice to kind of brighten it up. So let's serve.
Altogether, too much talking, not enough eating.
I gotta get
That
to
does
it.
look good.
A little bit of mango. And then remember we reserved that 1/4 cup of sauce. Yeah. I'll let you sauce yourself.
I'm self-saucing.
You're self-saucing.
A little tiny spoon.
Trying to slow us down.
Yeah, this spoon's not big enough for this.
I'll get you a shovel next time.
I knew I was gonna like this, and I love it.
See, I didn't think I was gonna like it, and I love it.
It's not too sweet, obviously, as the coconut. It has the coconut itself, the shredded coconut, gives it some nice texture, and the mango is perfect.
I know we said that we like this for dessert, but I would eat this for breakfast.
You know, it's not too much of a good thing. It's balanced. Also, you added, just 2 tablespoons of sugar? So most rice pudding recipes have a lot of sugar. So the rice itself isn't overly sweet, but the mango is what really hits it with that sweetness.
That's right, and it's not just the sweetness, Chris, it's that caramelization of the honey. Taking those couple extra minutes really adds depth of flavor.
So that's our recipe, or Pierre Thiam's recipe, for Senegalese mango and coconut rice pudding. Very easy to make, but very subtle because the rice isn't too sweet. The mango's nice and caramelized. And it has those flakes of coconut in it as well for texture. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from this season of Milk Street Television, at our website, which is, of course, milkstreettv.com.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
Ferguson's proud to support Milk Street and culinary crusaders everywhere. For more information on our extensive collection of kitchen products, we're on the web at fergusonshowrooms.com.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular has been offering no-contract wireless plans designed to help people do more of what they like. Our U.S.-based customer service team can help find a plan that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Cooking happens in the kitchen, but life happens around the kitchen table. The 1919 collection, celebrating yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Visit us at www.1919cookware.com.